Hey, how are you? So a question I get a lot is, how did I go from being stuck at home and really fearful and not being able to move and not being able to leave the house to having, well, now it's been 15 years of an 8-figure business and we're in 90 countries or more? That's a really big journey. And people say to me all the time, must be something about you, you must be different, what is it you know that we don't know? And as best as I can share, other than the skills I've had to learn along the way, it all began when I took just one step. It sounds so simple, but it was beyond me to take that first step. For years, I was too afraid to take one step. I was so sure in any direction that I went, it would be a failure, or I'd mess it up, or it wouldn't count, or just some noise I told myself. It was like I argued with my mind for years about this one step. And so when people ask me, how did you go from stuck at home to an 8-figure business that's been running at 8 figures for 15 years or so now, plus the other businesses that I've got, my best answer, my first answer always is, are you prepared to take one step? And that's not even that simple. I get it. For some people, that's massive. Because of all the noise and the junk we've built up in our heads and the story we've told ourselves over the years and the way we've convinced ourselves that we're not enough and it'll be too hard and it won't be great and it won't get us everywhere. So I'll share with you straight up, the vision was never to be in 90 countries. The vision was never to be working with over 1 million people around the world. That was never even remotely a twinkle in my eye. My vision for myself was this, to help myself. If I take this step, will this help me grow to become closer to my truest self? If I take this step, will this somehow help me fulfill a part of me that I'm feeling I'm lacking? If I take this one step, will it prove to myself I'm a little braver than perhaps I've been telling myself? If I take this one little step, can my mind just shut up long enough to let me do it? So my steps were so small in the beginning. This is how fearful I was. My steps were so small in the beginning. They were so tiny, all designed to not wake up the gremlin in my head that was there waiting to pounce to tell me, you can't do it, it won't work, you'll fail, why are you bothering? That's not gonna work, that's all you're gonna do, why even bother? I had to take such a small step that the dragon in my head didn't wake up and take over and try and trash the whole thing. So a little step for me would be reading one chapter of a coaching book, or it would be putting one folder together of some notes I'd learned about how to build rapport, or it would be maybe organizing one section of my desk that would be just for my coaching journey. It would be maybe learning how to do a coaching onboarding session, not doing one, just learning how to do one. And all of these little tiny steps added up to reference points of what I could do. So instead of this massive dialogue I had in my head of all the reference points of things I couldn't do, which trailed back for years, I now began to grab enough reference points that started to form the foundation, just enough to hold the weight of the next step. So I gathered 5, 6, 7 reference points until there was enough history there and I could say, you know what? There are some things I can do. So this noise, as much as there's things I can't do, here is evidence of what I can do. And I clung to that. My God, I clung to that. In one of the videos I'm about to do for you, I'm going to be sharing how I started trusting what it took to take some bigger steps. But for now, that's how it began for me. So when people ask me, how did you go from 0 and at home and stuck at home to an 8-figure business you've had for way over 10 years, I think it's 15 years now, that's my first best answer. Start with something tiny, just enough that this doesn't wake up and you have evidence that you can.